Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, she's a lovely lady. Got nothing but respect for her and her team. But she came into the dressing room afterwards to give me my belt back, and her words were, "I'm sorry, but I'm not a judge." And to me, the way her team celebrated, they didn't really celebrate afterwards, and they didn't seem that bothered when there was no like appeal when I originally got the decision. So I don't believe they genuinely thought they'd done enough to win. But yeah, they're going to take what they can get, aren't they?
That is former WBA bantamweight champion Nina Hughes reflecting on her loss, her first professional loss to current reigning WBA champion Shernika Johnson.
Nina seems to think that Shernika and her team, that they made off like bandits, that in their heart of hearts, they know they didn't win.
I don't agree with Nina. I saw that fight, and to my surprise, Shernika was a lot more aggressive than I expected. I expected Shernika to move and punch, box, because she's a little taller and longer than Nina.
Younger, too.
Fresher. I expected her to go in there and fight a cerebral fight. To my surprise, she was aggressive, stepping into her punches, coming forward, and taking it to the reigning champion, then champion Nina Hughes. For me and my money, Shernika beat Nina at her own game.
She won.
I understand that there was a controversial snafu, that initially Nina was announced as the winner, but the right woman got the decision. The right woman won the fight, and the right woman was Shernikwa.
Still champion.
And so Shernikwa and Nina were intended to be 2 of the 8 participants, 2 of the 8 women in Lou DiBella's proposed Great 8 tournament. To see an undisputed champion crowned at this weight, we've been talking a lot about how it didn't materialize, it didn't happen. Nina Hughes hasn't fought since she lost the belt. Neither has Shernika. Neither has the newly crowned reigning champion.
A bit of backstory.
Back when Ebony Bridges was still IBF champion, that's when Matchroom picked up Nina Hughes with the intention of making a unification match between them.
Didn't happen.
I don't want to be long-winded, but the long and the short of it is, it didn't happen. So Nina's time at Matchroom was brief. I think she only fought once under the banner.
The Katie Healy fight.
A lot didn't happen after that. A lot didn't happen for Nina over at Matchroom. She eventually decided to change her decorum. She changed her management. She changed her promotional situation. She signed to Lou DiBella.
And I had my reservations.
That just because the Ebony Bridges fight didn't happen doesn't mean you need to change everything. I happen to think her management at the time, Let's Go Management, Lee Eaton.
She had a good manager.
In terms of promotion, she was with a major promotional outfit with the opportunity to continue to box on a major platform. I don't know what all the circumstances were. I don't know that it was Nina specifically, that wanted to sever ties to Matchroom, or was it the other way around? I just know I had my reservations. I knew.
This is not going to be good for her.
And it wasn't. So when I saw that she ended up flying to Australia to defend her title against Shernika Johnson.
Said she was going to lose.
The Shernika Johnson fight was way back there in May of this year. It seems that Nina won't box again for what remains. My honest opinion is she wouldn't have ended up in that situation in Australia, losing her title, losing it to Shernika, if she would have stayed with Lee Eaton and if she would have stayed with Matchroom.
I don't think that would have happened.
She's 42 years old now. Doesn't seem to have that many prospects on the horizon, aside from that failed attempt to put together that 8-woman tournament. And I feel for her. I do.
I feel.
But I don't think she would have ended up in this situation. if she wouldn't have left Matchroom and if she wouldn't have left Lee Eaton. Her and her career would have been in good hands.
That's what I think.
I don't know what she's gonna do now. And I don't begrudge if she's become a bit bitter with the sport over time. Even if I don't agree, I think the right woman won the fight. I think Shernika deserved that decision, though I understand.
If Nina is angry,
Feeling abandoned and has fallen out of love with the sport. I get it. Men's super lightweight news, another look at a lengthy conversation, a lengthy read that the people at Boxing Scene had with Regis Prograis ahead of his upcoming fight with Kat Jadderall.
recalling what led him here.
Before this, Prograis was with the ill-fated Probellum, a reincarnation of a previous setup, MTK Global, with links to Irish drug kingpin and now one of the world's most wanted men, Daniel Kinahan.
Daniel Kinahan.
Ironically, Jack Catterall was also once a Probellum fighter. In hindsight, does Prograis regret the move? No, not really, he replies. That's what they had, Probellum. They told me at the time, listen, you're gonna be active. 3 things they promised me. They told me I was gonna be active, they told me I was gonna fight around the world, and they told me they were gonna get me to the belt again. I was gonna be a champion again. That's 3 things I wanted, to stay active at the time. They told me 3 fights per year, cool, we can do that. I'll fight all over the world. My first fight was in Dubai, that was awesome. And they told me I was gonna be a champion again, and we'll get you that belt some type of way. You'll fight for that belt again. And I did that. I was happy with them. Defeating Jose Zepeda for the vacant WBC title in Carson, California was the pinnacle for Prograis so far. Zepeda was dropped and stopped in round 11 for Prograis to snare his second world title. I waited so long, he says, of why it meant so much. I waited 3 years to get to the belt again, and I had opportunities to go up to 147 and make a lot of money, and I turned it down because I wanted to be a champion again. It's kind of like the same thing I'm going through now. I want to be a 3-time champion. I can do all kinds of other stuff, but I really want to become a 3-time champion. Obviously, Zepeda was the opponent, but no matter who I fought.
Probellum, much like MTK Global, eventually went under and went through a rebrand of sorts. They rebranded themselves to Disrupt Boxing. They didn't disrupt anything.
And all of the fighters that they signed, in a short amount of time, eventually migrated elsewhere. Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis among them. Speaking on his power, his stopping power, Regis said, I feel like I can do it if I need to. If I need to do that. Bite down and do that stuff. I feel like I do have a lot of power and I can end stuff, he says. If I need to, I can end it. But it all depends what the fighter brings to me. I can do it, but sometimes you don't need to do it. It's about being smarter instead of training harder. It's about being smarter. I can do it if I need to. I can do it anytime. We can put our hands up and we can just go at it. If I need to do that, but only if I need to.
Some would say he needed to in the Devin Haney fight.
Prograis turned pro 12 years ago. While he contends the journey is far from over, you can tell his mind has been shaped by the business. He has become a skeptic, likely based on his own experiences and everything he has seen. During that time, 2 weeks ago, Prograis dropped a video calling out VADA,
the Voluntary Anti-Doping Agency,
for only testing him once for Catterall so far, but it is down to the promoters to pay for the testing, unless the fighters choose to do so themselves. For some, the cost of VADA testing is deducted from their purses. I'm glad you asked me, Prograis goes on. As we accelerate well beyond our 10-minute allocation, they actually came to my house today. VADA woke me up this morning. I had to pee for them. Luckily, I had to pee and we got it out the way real fast. It was like my last camp, my last fight with Devin. They tested me, I think, 6 or 7 times. One day, it was so aggravating. They tested me one day and then I went to a fight the next day, and that's when I was out in LA training. And the people from VADA were there and I was like, hey, what's up? You're gonna test me? Playing with them. And they said, yeah, we are. And I'm like, y'all serious? Really? They tested me the day before and at the fight. I saw them. I thought they were coming for other fighters and they came and tested me. So yeah, I think I got tested 6 or 7 times. It was every week or something like that. Now, in this fight, I only got tested once. That's why I was saying, what's going on? It's kind of strange that you're testing me 6 times for one fight and testing me 1 time for another fight. Today was the second one.
Sounds a lot like the frequency of testing has everything to do with what the fighter or the promoter is willing to pay out. If you want aggressive and frequent testing, it's going to cost you.
Prograis felt VADA were prompted by his video, that it was no coincidence that he was tested the day after it was posted. But regardless of that singular situation, Prograis is under no illusions about just how problematic performance-enhancing drugs in boxing are. You cannot finish asking him if they are common in the sport without him interrupting. Absolutely, for sure. It's not just prevalent. I think most people do it. My coach, Bobby Benton, he told me a long time ago, he said most or all of them are cheating. And I don't put nothing into nobody. They ask me what supplements I take, I don't take nothing. I literally don't take nothing. All natural juices, all that stuff, so I don't do anything at all. I don't take any OTCs. Nothing at all. For me, I just thought all fighters were like that. Especially old school fighters, but my coach is like, listen, all fighters are cheating. And I'm like, damn. I never believed him, but he's been in the game since he was a little kid. His daddy was training him. He saw all of them, most of the greats, and most of them were doing stuff, and if you think most of these guys are doing stuff, who can I even look up to then? That's the thing. If all these guys are doing something, legends were doing it, it's hard for me to accept because I can't even look up to nobody because a lot of people are doing stuff.
So many boxing fans have arrived at that conclusion that they don't even know if they should be outraged if a fighter tests positive for a banned substance on the premise that everybody's on a banned substance. This is just one of the guys that got caught.
In one of the more high-profile instances, Devin Haney was dropped 3 times and beaten by Haney-Garcia in his first fight after outpointing Prograis. The dramatics and theatrics around Haney-Garcia rumble on, being played out daily on social media and in lawsuits. While there was bad blood between Prograis and the Haneys before their fight rolled around, Prograis has little sympathy for Haney, who is suing Garcia for battery, among other things, in the courts in New York. Matter-of-factly, Prograis says, my heart don't go out to him.
To Devin.
My heart definitely doesn't go out to him. The bitterness is in relation to Haney rehydrating to 165 pounds when he fought Prograis. One day after weighing in at the division limit of 140, on fight night, he was almost 10 pounds heavier than Prograis, who rose to 156. I always feel like what goes around comes around. And with him, Prograis explains, I don't want to say he was on pets. I can't say that he was on anything, but he was, as far as the weight goes, he wasn't the right weight he was supposed to be on fight night when he fought Prograis. That's what happened, but I don't feel sorry for him. But at the same time, what Ryan did wasn't right either. It's not like a sympathy thing.
How many times do you hear me say that there are no heroes in that story?
For me, it is what it is. I'm not Team Garcia or Team Haney. I'm just like, it is what it is, and whatever. It is just another wrinkle in a flawed business, but one that Prograis cannot stop loving, and one he is far from done in yet. Ethically, however, should cheating in boxing be perceived differently to other sports? It is one thing to throw an object farther, to run faster, or jump higher. It is another thing to punch another person in the face with more might to cause more damage, either short or long term. It should be, Prograis shrugs incredulously, but I think a lot of people look at it like, he's doing it, so I'm gonna do it. So maybe they think it's going to be even, but it's a serious thing. You can hurt someone, there's brain damage going on, and stuff like that. And they still have people cheating. So when they say boxing's a dirty sport, man, that's an understatement, because it is. I love it. It's just a super dirty sport, and that's how it is.
The way Regis says it, it sounds like the majority of boxers you know of are on something, and they just haven't been caught. Thus, if everybody's cheating, then nobody's cheating, because they're on an even playing field.
The question then is, if so many people in boxing are cheating, then what's with all the anti-doping testing? Why even pay for it?
To handicap the other fighter.
Hypothetically speaking, if you're talking about a situation where everybody at the top level is doping, you wouldn't hire an anti-doping agency to clean up the sport. You're hiring them to handicap your opponent.
So that you get to use your gear, but they don't get to use theirs.
And remember that the testing ain't cheap. So it's only a narrow pool of fighters that can afford to contract a VADA or an USADA or a drug-free sport.
You might find that there are fighters that can't even afford to contract a VADA, or they just don't want to because it's going to cost them. It's going to come from their purse.
Which leads to a more morbid view of the sport. It's not about who's doping. Who isn't?
That's the question.
And what's more disturbing, that those who are in the know, pretending to be outraged whenever somebody gets caught, It's all an act. And they're just doing what they're doing and saying what they're saying, reacting how they're reacting for appearance's sake.
Because they know what's going on. Subject of weight bullying needs to be addressed as well. Devin Haney is accused by many of being a weight bully. Comes in at 140 for the weigh-in, but during the fight, he's at 165.
The reason I don't single out Devin is because there are so many fighters doing this. How could you get mad at just one or point out just one when there are so many instances? Like Brandon Figueroa, when he was at 122, now at 126. Sebastian Fundora at 154. David Benavidez at 168.
If Devin is a weight bully, then so are they.
The feeling is that the fighter walking in so heavy on the night, that gives them a physical advantage over their opponents. And you know what? Maybe it does, but it's not long-lasting. There's another side to it.
You cut too much weight for too long, it has an adverse effect on your punch resistance, your power, your performances overall.
And I happen to think it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous for a kid as big as Devin, who was fighting at 135 and 140, walking in on the night at 165, and he still can't crack an egg. He still can't punch.
Pathetic.
But then again, so is Ryan, because Ryan is actually bigger than Devin, having campaigned at the same weights. What do you think he was doing at 135? What do you think he was doing?
If Devin is a weight bully, then so is Ryan.
That's why I keep telling you there are no heroes in that story. The way I see it, it's definitely fighters that are looking for a size advantage, a physical advantage over their opponents that are doing this. But it doesn't always play out the way they want it to. Don't forget, Dimitri Bivol was noticeably smaller than Zurdo Ramirez. Likely didn't weigh as much on the night.
And he beat his ass.
Took him to school, in spite of whatever Zurdo weighed the night of the fight. Likely somewhere at or around cruiserweight.
It didn't help him.
So I've mixed feelings about what some like to call weight bullying, that it's not the end-all and be-all. It's definitely something that fighters are doing to look for an advantage. But that's the name of the game, isn't it? In the ring, you're going to use whatever advantages you have if you're a taller fighter, or a longer fighter, or a stronger fighter, a faster fighter.
You're gonna use whatever advantages you have, if weight is one among them.
If you're cutting a lot of weight to campaign in a division, but then you blow up the night of, and that's an advantage, how is that different from any other advantage you would have?
How?
Mixed feelings, that's all I can say. All I can say is that it's pretty goddamn pathetic for Devin to walk in at 165 pounds and he's still pillow-fisted. He can't crack an egg.
Weak.
That doesn't make Ryan the hero, though, does it? That doesn't make Ryan any more virtuous.
He's not.
A common practice in the industry, in this day and age, when you see a guy the size of a Rafael Espinoza, what's he, 5'11", 6 feet, a 6'1", at 126 pounds. What's he doing all the way down there?
You can make 130, you can make 135, you can probably make 140. What the hell's a guy your size doing at 126?
The same thing Devin was doing at 135 and 140. It's obvious. So don't pigeonhole any one guy when so many people are doing it.
It's not just Devin.
Mixed feelings. I've got mixed feelings. That's all I can say.